Hello, this is Dr. Peter Swanz with Vital Force Naturopathy and drswanz.com. It's been a few weeks since I made a video, and I've got some exciting news to share with everybody. I caught COVID-19, and I lived, and I'm here to tell you about my experience because I want to share it. And I think people, there's still a lot of unanswered questions or concerns about how this illness, this virus progresses, and so I'm just going to share my firsthand experience. It was over 2 weeks ago on a Sunday night. I got out of the shower. I started to feel chilled and a little achy in my back. I went to bed. I slept well, but I woke up and I continued to feel chilled and achy in my back. So the first thing I did was I went upstairs and I fixed myself an emergen-c packet, and I tasted it, so I knew I still had my taste and my smell, but I made an appointment to go get tested that morning, and I also scheduled an appointment to go get an IV vitamin C drip. I did not have any known exposure, although I had been out Saturday, Friday, Thursday, and Wednesday before. So I think, it's possible that I could have been exposed on any of those evenings when I was out away from home, but there was nobody that I came into contact with that seemed to have any kind of symptoms. It still continues to be that the majority of cases will develop within 5 days of exposure to somebody who is symptomatic. That is how this disease is primarily being spread. So I did the IVs, I got tested, I came home and immediately started taking immune supports, vitamin C, N-acetylcysteine, zinc, herbs, things like echinacea, astragalus, usnea. I took some extra vitamin supports and just rested. I knew I was going to need to be staying at home for the duration until I at least found the results that said I was fine or that I was positive. Monday night, I had substantial night sweats. I woke up in the middle of the night completely soaked. The bed was soaked. I really have never experienced anything like that. And honestly, that was my worst symptom and experience, and it only happened that first night. I had to get up and get towels to lay across the bed just so I could get back to sleep, and then I had to strip the bed and wash all the sheets the next day. I did not develop any other symptoms other than a general kind of achiness in my back, more along my shoulders, and I felt a little chilled and fatigued. I didn't nap, never had a cough, never had congestion, never had shortness of breath. I technically didn't run a fever. I was chilled. I checked my temperature multiple times. It did not go above 98.9 degrees, not above 99. And interestingly, I've been checking my temperature mornings when I come into my office, and for the duration of the last few months when I've been doing that, it's almost always in the 97 range, 97.6, 97.7. So theoretically, it was up about a degree, right? But it would not be what would be considered a fever, by the standard 98.6 norm. And I think that's something we really need to consider because, our office policy is that if somebody's over 100, we would not let them come in and be seen in the office. But it may need to be, or at least consider that a lower number. The other thing that I think is interesting is how many people regularly take NSAIDs, ibuprofen, Tylenol, Aleve, just on a daily basis for aches and pains. I almost never utilize those over-the-counter pain relievers, and if I had, I think it's very unlikely that I would have known that I was symptomatic. I think I could have easily band-aided the achy back and the chills, the slight increase in temperature by taking those. And I worry that a lot of the potential spread from this is coming from people who regularly use these, especially in the elderly, right? So I just think that's something we need to be mindful and think about. I did take ibuprofen on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night to help me sleep. I take one 200 milligram ibuprofen, and that helped me get a good night's sleep the rest of the nights. I had a very low level of night sweats on Tuesday, and then didn't have any more after that. I didn't get my positive test result until Thursday morning. So I went in Monday morning, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 days to get the results. That's the other problem that we have with this, right? If somebody had been exposed, was developing symptoms, taking NSAIDs, even if they got a test, they might think they're fine to go out. And, I don't know where I was exposed, and other people, probably wouldn't either. So there's a lot of reasons why this, virus may still be spreading unknowingly throughout the population. So I had the positive results, came back on Thursday, stayed home, took it easy, just continued to take immune support. Every 3 to 4 hours, I was just, taking immune support, laying around on the couch, watching TV. The following Wednesday, so 10 days after my initial test, I felt better every single day. The achiness decreased. I quit having chills after probably 3 days, and I think the achiness was all gone by 5 days. So the weekend after, I pretty much felt back to normal, other than a little bit of fatigue. But I waited till 10 days after my initial test. I went and took a second PCR test, and then it took 2 days for the results from that to come back negative. So it was a total of 12 days from start to finish for me before I then was able to kind of go back out. I'm not sure, again, where I might have been exposed. I was in close proximity to my wife. She did not catch this. She isolated. She did a test 5 days after I went and had my first test. It came back negative. She's had zero symptoms, no symptoms. She doesn't take NSAIDs or anything on a daily basis. And there were a couple other people that I came into close proximity to that did not develop symptoms. So I think that's, there's definitely something to be said for exposure to a symptomatic person for an extended period of time, that we need to be paying attention to. In addition to the supplements that I mentioned, I sauna'd every night at home. So I would sweat, get in the sauna for anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes. I also was doing the neti pot every time I showered, and that may be part of the reason why I never developed any kind of congestion, postnasal drip, no sore throat. I didn't ever have a cough. I never felt shortness of breath. So that was my experience. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it wasn't more serious than that. I'm glad that nobody that I was around developed it, and I'm glad to hopefully be immune to the COVID-19 infection now. I'm going to wait 2 weeks, and I'm going to test my antibodies, and I will make a video to share with everyone what those results look like. And then I'm going to check them again 1 or 2 months after that, and just kind of track them probably over the next 3 to 6 months. I'm very curious about the antibody numbers, what that looks like, what the sustained immunity looks like to the infection. And I just hope everybody is staying well, healthy, safe, and taking precautions out there. So I wanted to share my experience. You can reach out to me on drswanz.com/connect if you have any questions or concerns or want any of the specific information about the products I took while I was dealing with it. I think the preventative stuff that I had been just doing, some probiotics, the fish oil, I think that's all very helpful. There's actually some new studies coming out where they're looking at probiotics, as a possible treatment support. I think the fish oil is, that's something I recommend for almost all of my patients. And what we know with the COVID-19 infections that become really serious, it's an acute inflammatory response in the lungs. It's an overreaction and over-inflammatory reaction that's happening in the body. Fish oil is one of the most affordable and most effective supplements that we can take on a daily basis to help our body more effectively regulate the inflammatory reactions. And so I just think the fact that I take that, probably played into the very mild symptoms that I experienced and how quickly I recovered. So I'm happy to share any of that information. Reach out, drswanz.com/connect. Thanks for watching this and sharing this, and peace, love, and health always.